It's midday in Freetown. Good afternoon and welcome to the podium. Our quote for today comes from an American coach, Mike Ditka, and it says, "Success isn't measured by money or power or social rank. Success is measured by your discipline and inner peace." Coming up in this edition of the podium, as the Chief Justice establishes 8 specialized courts, the Environment Protection Agency will tell us how the agency intends to utilize the Property and Environment Court. We shall be talking to the National Fire Force on the spate of fire accidents in the city and the regions. Sierra Leone News Agency, in collaboration with the Ministry of Information and Communications, officially launched the Sierra News newspaper. And a release from the National Executive Council for the Motor Drivers Union says the High Court ruling delivered by Honorable Justice Alusaid Sani has been flouted by the embattled president. Well, all these and more coming up in this edition of the podium, which you can be part of by sending your messages to 088-373-504. You can also send your comments on our Facebook page, SLBC Sierra Leone. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamara. Stay with us. Welcome to the podium. It could be recalled that the Environment Protection Agency recently embarked on a nationwide massive education on rampant bushfire in the regions that have caused serious fire accidents, leaving hundreds of people homeless and property lost. It coincided with the recent move by the judiciary to establish various courts to handle different sectors, including sexual offenses, corruption, and property and environment courts. As a result of the latest move, the Environment Protection Agency is poised to charge those arrested during the bushfire to court. For more on the issue, I have in the studios James Tamba Kamara, PRO, EPA. Good afternoon, James.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And now, let's talk about how you plan to utilize this newly established Property and Environment Court.
Well, it is a very important milestone in the area of environmental protection in this country. And we at the Environment Protection Agency, we feel very gratified for the judiciary to have taken such a bold move, because if you realize that some of the countries within the sub-region are already ahead of us in terms of providing the mechanism to address environmental challenges. And so this judicial structure that has been created by the Chief Justice is an excellent addition to environmental protection in Sierra Leone, and one that will put Sierra Leone in the map wherein a lot of countries will now begin to record the fact that Sierra Leone has joined the fight against climate change and other environmental issues. And so when we had the news that the Chief Justice has formed the Property and Environment Court, we said to ourselves that indeed the fight against environmental degradation in Sierra Leone, has been enhanced significantly, because you realize that the issue of compliance has been a very serious issue that we have to grapple with for a very long time. People having to conduct themselves in a manner that is so appalling in terms of the way we uphold our environment. So this is something that is very, very good, and we applaud the Chief Justice and the government of Sierra Leone for having put such a measure.
And now, James, you would say it's good because of the measure that has been put in place, because we know some people deliberately flout these rules laid down by your agency. But there are some people who especially in the hard-to-reach areas, who might say they do not have enough education on what EPA says concerning the environment. And that's where you come in, your department.
Indeed.
Let's talk about what you've been doing to educate people so that they know, and when they are caught, they would not say, I did not know.
That is a very important one, because in whatever you do, there has to be that awareness for you to be able to comply, for you to be able to contribute meaningfully. So this is why the EPA considers awareness protection as an important strategy, to enable our fellow Sierra Leoneans to understand what it means when we talk about environmental protection, when we talk about their ability to contribute to this important area of human endeavor. So what we have done over the years is to take environmental protection and awareness to the people themselves. We have, for example, a program called Village to Village, where we will go to identify certain communities where certain activities may be conducted that will harm the environment. We mobilize these communities and talk to them about the problems, the consequences of some of these actions. Very few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, we went to Moyamba district. We talked to the people about bushfire and the consequences. You find out that before now, the issue of bushfire was prevalent largely in the north. But today, if you look at the landscape of Sierra Leone, you find out that bushfire is now prevalent in almost every district in this country. So we targeted Moyamba, and shortly after our visit, we learned about the disturbing news that over 100 houses were burnt as a result of bushfire. So this is a very serious problem, and we take it very seriously. And because we're taking it very seriously, that is why we have been targeting these local communities, because they are the main players when we talk about bushfires in this country. And also, we also depend on local structures, for example, the councils, the local chiefs, and so on, for them to be able to put certain mechanisms that will help to tackle some of these difficulties.
And now, this bushfire, it's in the intro says that you're poised to charge those arrested during the bushfire to court. Sometimes, are these not natural disasters? The bushfires, those that you arrested, are they guilty of doing causing the fires?
Well, let me just make a clarification there. We have not arrested people as a result of bushfires. We arrested certain nationals, foreign nationals, who are currently detained at the CID, who were caught conducting some illicit mining activities at Lake Sonfo. And Lake Sonfo, of course, is one of our tourist attractions in this country. It's a protected area, and therefore no one is allowed to conduct such activities. So we made some arrests, and investigations are ongoing. But because the issue of bushfire is such a critical, is of a critical nature, this is why at times it is difficult for you to conduct arrests. Because when you talk to the people as to why they will tell you,
did not know why it started.
Well, even when they are doing it, some will tell you, we are farmers, we are ignorant of the consequences, we have to do it because that is the way we need to acquire our means in terms of farming and so on and so forth. So what we're doing now is, we have not come to their communities to say, do not engage in this kind of activity. But what we seek to do is to tell them how they must do it, so that it does not result in these kinds of disasters that we are here.
And also, your policy, in protecting the environment, you have this policy of planting trees, to make sure that these land degradation and all the disasters do not happen. So now you telling the people about how to do the bushfires, to burn the bush, it sounds a bit ironical.
Well, it's a bit ironical. This is why what we have advised our people to engage in as a way of agricultural practice is to engage in this IVS, inland valley swamp method of farming, wherein you do not need to go to the hills and you cut down trees, because some of these farming methods again have contributed significantly to this issue of deforestation. So, and it will also be unreasonable for us to say we must stop farming in Sierra Leone when we know that a significant portion of our population actually depend on agriculture to sustain their livelihood. So what we're doing is to engage them, raise the awareness, and then encourage them to practice the activity in such a manner that it will not result to any harm to human beings and the ecosystem.
Okay, now about these foreign nationals that were arrested on Lake Sonfo doing illegal mining. So are they going to sample the courts, this newly established court?
Well, definitely.
Would they be the first?
Well,
okay.
Well, let me not preempt. The issue is
because most times we see that most of your investigations dies down at the CID headquarters.
This is why we were very
then another time we will catch other people.
This is why we were very happy when we heard that the Chief Justice has inaugurated such an important court, the Property and Environmental Court, because even the idea that we now have a court that is dedicated towards, dealing with environmental offenses, that in itself would send some signals to people that it is no longer business as usual, because having to prosecute environmental offenses has been very tedious in the past. But now that we have such a court, we expect that these matters will be dealt with expeditiously and in the most fair manner. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. He is the Public Relations Officer of the Environment Protection Agency, James Tamba Kamara. Well, still with the same issue, the spate of fire accidents in the city and the regions have been a serious concern to many. Many of these accidents have been attributed to bushfire and electrical faults. For the past 2 months, hundreds of houses have been burnt down and thousands of people are still homeless. Such incidents come at a time when the National Fire Force is constrained with fire engines to put out fire. For more on the issue, I have Station Officer Bai Kamara. Good afternoon, Bai. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
Now, Bai, let's talk about what you have been doing to combat fire accidents in the country.
Of course, the fire department is an institution that is charged with the responsibility of responding to fire disaster. That is our main objective. In this sense, we are doing all we can to reduce or to eradicate the state of fire outbreak. As you have already mentioned, most of the fire incidents that occur in Freetown is as a result of mishandle of electrical appliances. This is what is resulting to these massive fires. More especially in the dries. We know now what is happening now with the climate change. The climate is changing and people have to go to farm. They must do their farming activities and they have to design fire beds whenever they want to burn these bushes, because we cannot eradicate it completely because the people must farm. That is expected. But what we must do here is how to sensitize them in designing the fire bed. In most cases, these people put on this fire without noticing the fire department or the environmental protection agency. And in most cases, without setting up the fire bed. As a result, you can't control. In most cases, if you start the fire, you can't control it at that initial stage. But the moment there is vast oxygen out there, the fire will continuously spread. And in as much as the fire comes in contact with fuel, there will be that continuous combustion. So this is a serious challenge. So like you make mention of the Moyamba incident, we responded, but we already mentioned we are constrained. In Moyamba, we have a working fire station and without a fire engine. That's a serious concern.
How can you call it a working fire station?
There is a working fire station because personnel are there 24 hours working on fire prevention activities. Oh. Because if you embark more on fire prevention activities, it will cut down the fire outbreak. So it is a working station already. And we are planning to send the fire engine. The moment we are expecting to have 5 new brand fire engines in Freetown soonest. When they are here, then we will locate at Moyamba, the same thing we experience in Podium, in Kailam, all this area will tend to saturate the entire county. That is what we are working towards. But more especially in Freetown, it is the poorly used of electricity that is resulting to electrical fires.
So then comes your office, like you said, fire prevention measures. How often do you embark on that in communities?
Almost every day we go on fire prevention activities. Almost every day. We were constrained with staff. We can't take the entire Freetown at a go. We are doing this step by step, stages by stages. In some cases, if you don't know how to handle electricity is very much more useful, but if you do not handle it very well, it will become very much more disastrous. Because you can know the low capacity of your television, you can know the low capacity of your freezer, and most of this extension has a maximum load capacity that they can accommodate. For example, if it is designed to accommodate only 10 amps, you overloaded it with over 15 amps, and you exceed the temperature, let's say 150. They are designed with plastic materials. And this will start to result to an ignition point. And if the temperature continues to increase further, definitely it will reach an ignition point where fire will come up. And there is the presence of oxygen everywhere.
So how often do you work with the electricity distribution supply agency? Because they are also responsible for regulating some of these electrical faults or something.
If I can say for now, there is that relationship between we and the electricity company, but it is that kind of slack relationship. Because what we are working towards here, seriously, we are fighting for the fire safety bill to be enacted into law. Because initially, we come into existence into the laws of Sierra Leone 1957, which allow us to do only fire prevention activities. Okay. Wherein, by then, the fire department was only established in Freetown. Until 1980, it was established as a national fire force. That's why you see we are going now national. And now we are fighting to have the fire safety bill enacted into law. Even in designing your buildings, you must meet the specific fire safety regulations. Even if you want to do your electrification, we have this fake type of electrical cables in town. You can ask
That's where the electricity people come in. Yeah, because most of their staff do these illegal connections that results to some of these problems.
Definitely so. Now we have different type of cables with different specifications and different standards. So of course, if you use a substandard cable, definitely electricity is flowing. And there is that tendency that the temperature will increase. And if it increases, definitely it will reach a melting point that the naked wires will come into will contact it, which will result to fire. So we are now working, management is working seriously to have the fire safety bill enacted into law. By so doing, we will be able to combat this fire outbreak.
Okay, now you spoke about some of the constraints and like you're expecting some vehicles to ease the burden. For now, let's talk about what you use to combat fire accidents.
We have 18 operational engines presently within the capital of Freetown. Okay. We have 18. So at any time there is fire incident, we will automatically respond. Like yesterday, very close to our office, opposite Statistics Sierra Leone, is Pamolai, they call that area Pamolai. There was a serious fire outbreak, very close to our ammunition drum. You know how serious that will be. In that fight, we responded with 4 fire engines. With 4 fire engines, within 2 hours, we were able to put the fire under control. I think as much as Freetown is doing, we are trying our best to combat fire.
But most times, Mola, if I may come in there, people grumble at your response time. Most say it's often after the damage has been done. That's when you go there to put out the fire on the remains.
That's very clear. Our response time depends on when you informed us. In most cases, it's evidence clear that people will start fighting the fire themselves. It is only when they think that they cannot only curtail this fire, they decided to call the fire service. And within 1 hour, serious burning within 1 hour will become very much more disastrous if you have highly flammable materials around. And we have these free burning materials all around our houses in Freetown. If the fire started initially, there are some instances if there is fire, you see people standing stones inside the fire. And if you send stone, you'll be creating more oil and the oxygen will flow easily. And when the oxygen flow easily, that will ease the burning process. So our response there, the moment you call us, the traffic condition in Freetown that you cannot dispute, it is a challenge. But when you call us, I have been a commander. By then I was working at the Kisi fire station where we are called to respond at a fire at Grafton. They only call us at a time where they cannot curtail the fire anymore. I was in that particular vehicle, I was the commander by then. It took us 10 minutes from Kisi, you know Kisi Fire Station, to Grafton, 10 minutes. So response time is always timely because we are there 24 hours around the clock waiting for fire calls. It is a serious offense, it is a serious crime. If you are called upon, you don't respond.
And now, what would you say about allegations that sometimes, even when you respond on time, you go with trucks without water?
That is far from possible. You cannot move.
You have to search for fire hydrants around the vicinity before you can start operating.
Of course, it is evidence clear now. There is serious fire water challenge in the county, and to be frank, we have only 3 operational hydrants within Freetown. We know because of the climate change, these 3 working hydrants, we are having one at Eastern Police, one at Femitona, and one at the Light. As I'm talking to you now presently, the one at Femitona is down, the one at Eastern Police is down, and the one at the Light is flowing very slowly. But in spite of that, in as much as it's our mandate to put out fires to ensure that the Freetown vicinity is safe, MP aided us by constructing a 40,000 litre station tank at our headquarters, Circular Road. There are 40,000 litres, you can refill 4 engines at a go. The same thing, they are constructing the same thing for us at the Kisi Fire Station as well. So it's helping us with that. But you cannot move that fire engine without water inside. That is far from possible.
So how would you respond to the allegation that these fire hydrants, with the water you get from it, you sell to people who do not have taps?
No, we don't sell water. We use the water to put out fires. So if there is no water in the hydrant, in the one in hydrant, how the fire department can sell water? Of course, there are a series of WhatsApp now around. If you attempt selling water, you will see the pictures around.
Well, people
have you seen the pictures around?
Making that allegation.
No, that's an allegation. But
I can see the picture and I'll tell you, I will still deny the fact because I don't have it here.
So what we are saying here is our department is not charged with selling water. We use the water to put out fires.
So are you trying to tell me you've not had complaints that your drivers are doing that?
You cannot suppress allegations.
We
have never had an official report.
Are you sure?
Yes, we have never had an official report that we caught your engine red and dead selling water. If you have that report, management can take drastic action against that person.
Okay, thank you very much. Continue to stay with us in the program. He is Station Officer by Kamara of the National Fire Force. For another issue this afternoon, the Sierra Leone News Agency, in collaboration with the Ministry of Information and Communications, have officially launched the Sierra News newspaper, having an effective print outlet news agency for the dissemination of government policies and other developmental issues has been one of the challenges limiting the flow of news from one place to the other. The focus of the launch of the Sierra News newspaper by SLENA and the Ministry of Information was to get a balanced flow of accurate, timely, and reliable news. Emmanuel Toure is a media and PR specialist in the Ministry of Information and Communications, and he is my studio guest. Good afternoon, Emmanuel. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Now, let's talk about the launch of this Sierra News newspaper.
Yeah, the whole idea was born out of the need, as you stressed in your intro, that there is need for information, and based on the Pan-African News Agency idea that was brought forth by heads of states way back in 1963, and based on that we got a cabinet conclusion in November 1997, and officially we got the Sierra Leone News Agency operating in this country way back in 1987, and after that we got what we call the Sierra Leone Sierra News newspaper, which started publication in the year 2000. Well, initially the aim of the news agency was to portray Africa in general and Sierra Leone in particular to the world, what we do, because the Western media at that time was not giving enough coverage to African stories, and what we see on the first world newspapers, etc., was not much of what is expected of seen in Africa. So African leaders thought it fit well. We need to speak about the good things of our government, etc. So that was why news agencies like SLENA came up. And initially, Selena used to produce news bulletins, which was sold to other news agencies like Reuters, BBC, Deutsche Welle, etc. It served as a medium for Sierra Leone to sell its information out there to other people around the world. And locally, we had missions here, diplomatic missions subscribing for news bulletins on daily basis, and even the SLBS at that time to SLBC and other local newspapers and radio stations were subscribing for the bulletins on daily basis. Now they saw the idea that we cannot just limit Selena to bulletins on daily basis, but let's come out with a newspaper.
But all that stopped. Why?
Yes, that stopped way
What
back in
happened?
2000 and between 2005 2006 as a result of support and administrative issues as well as financial constraints on the part of Sierra Leone News Agency. In part of my presentation during the launch, I mentioned that previous governments have not been given subvention because it's a semi-autonomous body under government, and they've not been getting the support as before. So we find out that some governments will give premium, like to the Daily Mail, which has already been liquidated. But this one, like all other news agencies around the world, should be given attention. And so this is why the current government has given, yes,
and everything you need.
indeed, the current government has given this a priority for us to revamp the Sierra Leone News Agency, like you have Kenya News Agency, South African News Agency. Now this one is here to stay because based on the design, using the multimedia approach. What do we mean? Coming out with a newspaper, bringing out daily news bulletins, and we have shortly we'll be launching the multimedia website where you can have clips of whatever is taking place. If we cover EPA, we cover fire issues, etc. So all Reuters and other agencies around the world can subscribe to it and get first-hand information. And also we want to go on the new media, which is social media. And you on your phone and apps, you can just click and get the Selena update. And similarly, on your mobile phones, we want to be sending tips of news summary on daily basis. So these are the strategies that the ministry is putting in place with a view to, trying to revamp this Sierra Leone news agency.
So basically, would it be just for covering government programs, government activities?
Like I said, it's the national news agency, so it cuts across human interest story, education, etc. But like I said, this was an idea brought out by heads of states of government way back in 1967. And this news agency started operations back in 1987 in Sierra Leone. So it does not only look at government, it takes independent stories as well. We cover all issues. And mark you, the news agency will be having, before we call them bureau. Now, we had bureau in Kenema, in McKinney, in Bow, in Freetown. Now we want to go at district level to have representatives of this Selena, different regions, and shortly when you see the appointment of the attaches, they will all be reporting to this Selena, and the outlet of Selena will be the Sierra News, and other people will subscribe for bulletins.
Now, will this agency be devoid of politics, and how independent? Let's talk about how independent are they?
From the cabinet conclusion and the approval by Parliament, by Act of Parliament, means semi-autonomous means there's going to be no political influence into it, because one,
the government owned.
no, it's not government. It's established. Really, government is giving subvention or support to it, but by its establishment and by the vision of the African leaders way back in 1963, it should be independent of any influence from government.
Would they bite the hand that feeds them?
No, what I'm saying in this
Because
case,
you mentioned just now that the attaches will also be reporting.
for instance,
And
look
the
at-
attaches are appointed by the government.
now, attaches are there for PR, and mark you, what
PR for the government.
the government. And
So why would they be reporting
let's
to
put it
Selena?
this way. Let's put it this way. Now, if PR are working for governments, it's marketing Sierra Leone. And the aim of African leaders is to market their respective countries internationally. So the aim of Slena is to give a picture of Sierra Leone, the true picture of Sierra Leone from its correspondence, what is happening in terms of human interest, etc. Now, that's why you have independent press.
So why
that will
not
be
have
giving
their
you
own staff rather than wait for attachés to send reports?
No. What we are saying here, attachés sending the report. Now you have an arm of government we call Government Information Officers, GIOs. These who are working for the Government Information Services. It's reciprocal. They send in and out. They will be in the various embassies to inform the nation of what is happening in our embassies, which you are very much interested to have those information. So what happens in China, what happens in Germany will be on our desk on daily basis to inform the public. So the PR they are doing there is to sell Sierra Leone for investment, tourism, etc. Similarly, Slena here will be doing same for the country, whereas we portray our news, our images out there. And the work of the independent press is to look at the other side of what Slena is reporting, whether fact or not factual. And now, talking about party, that's why you have the Unity Now newspaper and other party newspapers. So, to maintain our balance, we need to have an agency that reports to other agencies around the world. We go to conferences, we attend these conferences or news agency operations in our respective countries, and I mean we are taught how to maintain our balance in terms of governance and the governed.
So let's talk about the staff. What would they be doing for?
Before this time, Slena has one of the best and qualified staff in country. And this is the same step we're taking in our address, in the minister's address. One of the key challenges.
Is there still residue of the old staff, or are you recruiting?
Interestingly, out of over 40 you had before, we only have now about 11 Slena staff. So now we are going to employ about 25, 30 to cover the gap. So, and we are also, my queue is going to serve as a recruitment or a job opportunity for young people that are out of college or university. Shortly you will see the adverts going out because there is deficiency in this area of information dissemination. And we want on daily basis, as you sit here, SLBC might not have reporters all over the country, but if you subscribe to our news bulletin, we have the opportunity to have our bureau chief in all of the districts, and you'll be subscribing to our bulletin for the daily news, as well as missions or diplomatic missions. So we are looking at human resource as a key priority this time, and to make the agency more viable than it used to be before.
Okay, now would they be attached like they used to in different government offices, or would they be just for the agency and be sent out?
No, they will not be centered in the agency. We have representatives that will be in the various MDAs at district level. We have in the main office, you have different desks like you have here, international desk, sport desk, regional chief of bureau, etc. So we'll be looking at all that on daily basis. So
when how soon has the paper been out?
The paper, today we had the second edition also.
So let's talk about the content of this edition.
Well, if I can just grasp what is there, the thing that made up the headline for today was the issue of His Excellency's award to 62 personalities, that is for the Grand Commanders, etc. And the other issue they looked at is that Parliament has given their support to Slena. And the other issue we are looking at it from the President's speech that was made, from our analysis, from the Slena point of view, is a message of hope and inspiration. It carries that, and there is an editorial. Then it covers regional stories. In Bo, we have regional stories on issues related to agriculture, etc. So we have a lot of messages as well for the independents and local sport.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Continue to stay with us in the program. He is Emmanuel Toure, the media and PR specialist in the Ministry of Information and Communications, talking about the newly revamped Sierra Leone News Agency with the launch of the Sierra News newspaper. For the final issue this afternoon, a release from the National Executive Council for the Motor Drivers Union said the High Court ruling delivered by Honorable Justice Alusani Sise on the 10th April 2019 has authorized the embattled President Alpha Amadou Ba, who is under ACC investigations and was suspended from office, must present its financial report for 2016-2017 to 10th December 2018 to the National Executive Council. However, recently Mr. Alpha Amadou Ba held a meeting at his office at Kisi, claiming that he has been reinstated and has presented his financial statement, of which the council said they have no idea. The National Executive Council is now calling on Alpha Amadou Ba, President of the Motor Drivers Union, to adhere to the ruling. And Sumana Gobe is the Secretary General of the Motor Drivers Union, and he is my guest. Good afternoon, Mr. Gobe. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Now, Mr. Gobe, before we go to your call to Alpha Amadou Ba, let's talk about what the ruling said.
Yeah.
What's the ruling? What did it say?
Okay, the ruling says the defendant, that's referring to Mr. Alpha Amadou Ba, should present his financial report for 2016-17 up to 10th December in a month's time to the National Executive Council, and that the union should conduct their Quickener conference in a month's time also, and preferably the NEC should conduct this election. So whilst we were waiting for the defendant, Mr. Alpha Amadou Ba, the suspended president, to present this document, because the document is not being prepared by our internal structures, no. We do hire external service for the preparation of this financial document, because our auditors and the treasurer, we are not that equipped, they are not that knowledgeable for the
So why elect them into office when
well,
they are not equipped?
You know, we are drivers. We normally...
So how can someone who is not within the union know about your finances?
Well, we give
it's what you
them,
tell
we feed them.
Oh.
We have our financial document, we feed them with this financial document. But they have to know how. So they will do it and then send it back to us, we'll peruse it and then do the signature before taking it to the director of labor.
So why now are you putting pressure on Alpha Amadou Ba to produce the document when you know, you as a union know how to get the document?
No, well, it is a court order.
So how can he? But the norm in your union says, yes, you stated it just now, yes, that outsiders, financial people do.
But we do contact them before. We've been doing it before.
So
this
who
is not the
should
first time. That's the defendant, Mr. Alpha Amadou Ba. He will just consult us as National Executive Council.
So you are the Secretary General.
Yes.
So in place of Alpha Amadou Ba, what do you do in the absence of him? Because he is suspended now.
In this situation, we are operating on court order. Assuming it was normal, I have that onus to contract that.
But don't you think it's what you fed the courts that produced that type of ruling? Because if Alpha Amadou Ba is
I was not part of the team that took him to court. I was not part of the team that took him to court. But that was what the court has demanded from the defendant, who is Mr. Alpha Amadou Ba.
But if that does not happen, can't you do that as the Secretary General?
Well, with court order, I cannot do that automatically. Unless we get back to the authorities concerned, then we can go ahead.
So have you contacted Mr. Alpha Amadou Ba?
Well, to our surprise, he was on air shortly, saying he has presented the financial documents to the National Executive Council and is even up country campaigning for the election, flouting even the Anti-Corruption Commission Act that have suspended him. So you see, everything is just jumbled up. And when you call him, he will tell you this and he will be doing that. This is the problem we are having. And we cannot jump into the system now because we are operating on a court order. You see, we are expecting him to at least bring us together, feed the information, because he's not the only one having the information. The treasurer is also there.
So when he's not there, because I know financial reports come from the financial officer or the treasurer. So
Yes.
what have they do? What have they been doing? Earning salaries and not doing anything. It means you do not even trust them by taking outsiders to prepare your own.
No, we trust them, but that's how we've been operating. They are good at taking information. Okay, if money comes in, they will receive, know how to disburse it. But in making financial statement, we do contract these audit firms, these external audit firms.
So was that made
We just
known,
give them the information.
Was that made known to the court that it's not the duty of Alpha Amadou Ba to produce a financial report,
No,
but
no,
you contact outsiders?
No, that's his duty. He has been doing it. He's the one who we jointly contract the external auditors. They will come, we'll feed them the information, but he's the head. Those suspended, but he's the head. He's facing trial, but he's the head.
So was it made clear to the court that he is not on seat, he is on suspension? Because if
Yes.
the court knew that
All
he
the
was on
information is in
suspension,
court, yeah. The court knew that.
so what's the way forward in all this?
Well, Mr. Amaduba, being suspended, he can even bring us together, and then we retrieve this document, get this document, and then hand it over to an external auditor. They will do it, then we sign, and then take the document to the Registrar of Labour.
But you know the external auditors too.
Of course, I know them.
So have you contacted them to make sure that
Oh my God.
what Alpha Amadou Ba is saying is correct, that he has presented it?
I am supposed to append my signature on that document.
So what are
if
the external auditors saying about that? Have they been
They've
contacted?
not been
to do it?
contacted, in fact.
So without the financial documents and the report, what would happen to the union?
Well,
Will
that's
there
one
be
of the
any
requirements.
election?
That's one of the requirements for the Kukuna conference. That's the election. That financial report is going to be explained to the membership before declaring everybody null and void, and then we go back and then start fresh election.
But now, Mr. Gobe, recently we received a letter, I am privy to that letter, that you two were suspended. So why are you here acting like the Secretary General when we know that there's a letter to the effect that you are no longer the Secretary General?
Madam, how can you be suspended on 11th December 2018? Because as Secretary General, I'm performing my role to advise you to adhere to your suspension. Then you go and suspend me in January.
No, but the letter we got was from the National Executive Council, not from Alpha Amadou Ba.
It is from Mr.
The
Ba.
SLBC would not receive a letter from Alpha Amadou Ba when we know that he is not in the position.
But even today, Mr. Ba mentioned that at the morning
well, that's
coffee,
another
and
program.
even in court,
Yeah.
his lawyer, representing him at the ECC court, mentioned the same, that if I can recall that on the 29th January, Mr. Ba chaired a Central Executive Council meeting, suspending me. In fact, the judge told him, how can a man suspended in 2018, then you come and suspend somebody in 2019? I think that's an attempted suspension. That was exactly what the ACC judge said.
So when will all this stop in the, because this back and forth?
The whole problem is...
So your position is not legal, Alpha Amadou Ba does not provide, when will all this stop?
No, the whole
because
problem is...
I do not see this as a union anymore.
The whole
because
problem
you are
is...
not united.
No, the whole problem is Mr. Ba is taking it that I took him to ACC, forgetting that we were all taken to ACC together.
Okay.
In fact, he spent 8 days at the CID cell while I did 15 days. Only that we were all asked to produce documents in our custody and we were asked questions. Because I survived, I was not indicted, he assumed that I took him to ACC. I've explained to him several times that no, Mr. Ba, we were in a meeting where we were all invited. So, I have no dealings with this ACC matter. I was trapped just as we were trapped. He's still saying I took him to ACC. The ACC have even proved that no, I was not part of the team that took the union to ACC, but yet still, he's still convinced that Mr. Gobe took him to ACC.
So now that
This is
Mr. Alpha Amadou Ba has not produced the financial report, what would you do as a union?
We have the authorities concerned, like our line ministry, although they are also disappointing us, like the Ministry of Labour, because it will interest you to know that after this letter had been sent to the minister on the 11th December 2018, come January, the ministry sent a letter of a letter to the police asking for police clearance for Mr. Ba to conduct election.
Well, that's a serious allegation.
An allegation, I will show you the letter, if you don't mind. If you even go to the police, they will tell you that's happened.
But like you mentioned
Yeah.
that this is a matter for the courts. Would
Yeah.
you go back to them and tell them what's happening in the union
Of course.
concerning the financial report?
To the court.
Yeah, because you said it's a court ruling.
Yes, it's
so
a
you
court
go back to
ruling.
them.
Well,
and
no, what
tell
we'll
them
do?
it has not been adhered to.
No, well, we'll go to the lawyers. Because it is the lawyers that speak with the court. For us, we'll just go and listen. Mr. Ba has his own lawyer, and the National Executive Council that took him to court have their own lawyer.
Okay.
They will just take the issue to the lawyers back, then they will speak to the judge. And
Okay.
they will listen.
Okay, thank you very much, Antumana Gobe,
Yeah.
the Secretary General of the Motor Drivers Union. Well, we go for a short break. When we come back, we shall be rounding up with our guests. Well, this is the Podium coming to you live on SABC Television in Freetown. For still with the EPA, PRO, you know, most times the issue of illegal mining is a term coming up, and you're arresting more of foreign nationals. Let's talk about this illegal mining. What's legal and what's illegal?
Well, when you look at the Environment Protection Agency Act of 2008, it is quite clear. When you look at the first schedule to the Act, it tells you that when you're engaged in any of the activities mentioned therein, you will have to obtain an environmental impact assessment license. That's what the law says. Now, we've realized that certain people come to this country, they engage in this sort of activities without going through these formalities or these procedures that have been stipulated by law. And it becomes worrying when you realize that our fellow Sierra Leoneans are part of this illegal enterprise, wherein the foreigner will come from his or our own country and then encamp himself in a protected area with the connivance of a Sierra Leonean to destabilize the environment of Sierra Leone. So it becomes very, very pathetic. And like I said, this is why we are very happy that we now have a dedicated court that will help us to address some of these matters expeditiously, so that those that are found wanting will face the full wrath of the law, so that the message will be sent that Sierra Leone is a country that practices the rule of law, and that no one conducts himself in a manner that will destabilize this country and go scot-free. So yes, we have these illegal activities, but I think gone are the days when people will just do things as they wish, thinking that you know, bribery will set them free. And this is again worth mentioning, that the Anti-Corruption Commission seriously is one of the institutions that we can be proud of as Sierra Leoneans today, you know, because some of these issues that are coming up, people being held to account for their activities,
Okay.
is sending the message that Sierra Leone is ready for business.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Let's take a few text messages. This one says, please ask the station officer when they're going to pay the 100 recruits firefighters which has taken over a year without any salary. Thanks to Mr. Kamara for engaging the public on the dangers of bushfire. It shows that the EPA is becoming very proactive. kudos to EPA for taking measures in the fight against fire disaster. This is unbelievable. With 4 fire engines and timely intervention, they took 2 hours to put off fire. This is not good for us, considering the spate of fire incidents. Internal fights have destroyed the drivers' union. Too sad with all of them. It's their own personal interest. The drivers' union is full of politicians and corrupt people whose interest is for themselves, whilst the drivers are suffering. Well, first, Molai from the I'm sorry, from the Freetown and from the National Fire Force. You heard the texters about the salary of over 100 recruits for over a year. What's happening?
Thank you very much. I think this has been a burden issue, even for us at the National Fire Force. It's a very serious challenge. I remember we recruited 100 personnel because the process was ongoing. It was due to government intervention. Various states that is resulted to this. But what I'm saying, management have not forgotten the 100 recruits because we really need the personnel. We really need the personnel because we are seriously constrained presently. Management is doing whatever it can. Let them just be patient. Soonest, this thing will become history.
So are you being paid?
Yes, I'll be paid.
Why are the recruits not being paid for work they have done?
These are very critical issues that management is handling. I don't want to dwell into that. Maybe we'll have to spend the next 2 hours discussing the same thing here.
Right, okay.
But soonest it will be over.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Well, for Slena, what's the difference between Slena and the Daily Mail?
Well, Daily Mail used to be the direct government newspaper, and the Slena, it's like you have EPA as an agency, you have various agencies operating on the government. This one is a semi-autonomous, a news agency being recognized by world bodies all over. And so they are a credible information outlet of government, and that portrays information or sells out information. So we sell out information to the outside world, and they consider Slena to be as the most credible news agency to be doing that on a daily basis.
So does it mean that now that Slena has been revived, and you will not think of the Daily Mail also?
Like I
because
said,
you are from the Ministry of Information.
Like I said, yes. If you listen to the speech of Honorable I.B. Kagbo, who represented the Communications Oversight Committee of Parliament, he said it that from previous government that Daily Mail has been liquidated and all the staff have been paying their benefits. They've been paid. So that has been liquidated. But
so
like I said, gone.
Okay.
Now, what we have now is the Sierra Leone News Agency that was established by an act of parliament, and that is a news agency like you have the Kenya News Agency, Ghana News Agency. All countries in Africa have their news agencies.
So is it because the opposition, the APC government, put premium on the Daily Mail? Is that why it's not being considered?
Well, not that. I mean, if at all it was not liquidated, then both can operate because they have the different missions or visions or editorial policies. But what we want to focus on, a country like Sierra Leone will not be there without having a national news agency where other news agencies around the world can subscribe. You only have independent newspapers here or outlets in the country, but no news agency functioning. So this time we want to revive the country's news agency, to which that news agency is affiliated to other world bodies of news agencies. Okay. So this is the most viable outlet for government to disseminate home news bulletin, foreign news bulletins, export news, and as well as daily summary of news items.
Okay. Thank you very much. And finally to you, Mr. Ansumana Gobe. And the people are accusing your union of being too political, too corrupt, and you're not seeking the interests of the drivers, only your personal interests.
Well, I think some members are corrupt.
So how?
That's why they are caught. But I cannot say I'm corrupt.
You cannot justify someone being corrupt by being in the court. If the court might prove him not guilty. What would you say about that?
Well, it all started by investigation. If I succeeded, though I was punished for 15 days, I even asked them for punishing me unnecessarily what would be my yes, and they told me it's an experience. It was a little experience, but I managed, so I have no option. They are in court. Let's listen to see what the court. No, I don't have option. If ACC can tell me it's an experience, what will I do? Nothing. I haven't spent 15 days in the cell for something. Now you don't find me wanting of.
So finally, now that you are saying the Ministry of Labour,
yes,
who deals with you people directly, you are saying that they have compromised their position with backing Alpha Amadou Ba.
Yes.
What's your next move?
Well, this is one of my moves as I'm coming to ACC to allow the nation to know, because that's my constitutional function. As the Secretary General, the Chief Executive of that Secretariat, I should inform everything that is coming from the National Executive, and something that's also coming out should land on my desk. Okay. That's exactly what I'm doing. For the people to know that, in fact, for Ministry of Labour to know that they are not taking the right drive. For you to see a letter asking police to give them clearance, signed by the acting commissioner. I don't think it smells sweet, but we don't have option. We can just voice it out.
So apart from all of this, when are elections due?
Well, we have certain things to put in place. Until they are put in place, then you say election.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that's how we end the podium for this afternoon. Many thanks to my studio guest. Our quote for today came from American coach Mike Ditka, and it says, "Success isn't measured by money or power or social rank. Success is measured by your discipline and inner peace." My producer has been Salma Taba. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamara. Till we meet again on Wednesday, stay tuned to the SABC. Join the Podium team tomorrow for another edition. Goodbye.